First Minister, thank you for doing the interview. First of all, your reaction to today's news. You're saying it's a dark day for democracy.
It's absolutely outrageous. Shutting down Parliament in order to force through a no-deal Brexit, which will do untold and lasting damage to the country, against the wishes of MPs, is not democracy, it's dictatorship. And if MPs don't come together next week to stop Boris Johnson in his tracks, then I think today will go down in history as the day UK democracy died. This simply can't be allowed to happen. But
supporters of the UK government are saying it's not about stopping a no-deal Brexit. Actually, we're only losing about 4 days of Parliament sitting, and Boris Johnson was saying there'll be ample time when Parliament returns.
Well, everybody knows that is typical Boris Johnson nonsense. I listened to him this morning and I've rarely heard a flimsier or more transparent cover story. You know, even the Speaker of the House of Commons is calling this an outrageous attack on democracy. Everybody knows what this is about. It's about restricting any ability Parliament has to stop a no-deal Brexit in its tracks. I mean, Brexit, let's not forget, was all supposedly about returning control to the House of Commons. And now we have a Prime Minister who himself, of course, hasn't been elected by anybody other than a tiny number of Tory party members, is trying to shut down Parliament to do something to the UK that everybody who is prepared to be honest about this knows is going to do real damage to our economy, our society and the prospects of livelihoods and living standards for a long time to come. It is beyond outrageous, and MPs have to come together and do something about this.
So what do you do now? How do you seize the agenda back? You've been speaking to Ian Blackford, your Westminster leader. How do you do that? How do you seize the agenda? How do you get back in a position where you can stop a no-deal Brexit? There was talk yesterday of enacting new laws to stop a no-deal Brexit.
That has to now be the priority. And, you know, frankly, anything that can stop this has to be up for discussion and exploration. But the opposition parties came up with a plan yesterday. There is a narrow window of opportunity next week to try to take control of the business in the House of Commons and then pass primary legislation. And that, you know, has to be something that all MPs come behind. I think there's a particular question for Scottish Tory MPs. We keep hearing that Ruth Davidson opposes a no-deal Brexit. Well, today, frankly, is the day she really has to say what she and her Tory MP colleagues are going to do to help stop a no-deal Brexit.
Is there time for primary legislation? Is it perhaps time, though, to have a vote of no confidence in the government? And it looks like number 10, though, are on an election footing.
Well, there certainly should be every effort made to get that primary legislation passed next week, and the SNP will work with others to try and make sure that happens. A vote of no confidence cannot be off the table. It must be very much on the table if that proves to be the best way of stopping this. And my message to Boris Johnson on an election, if he's got the courage of his convictions, then bring an election on, but have polling day before the 31st of October so that people across the UK can have the opportunity to vote. And if he's not prepared to do that, then the question is, what exactly is he frightened of? He's acting like some kind of tin pot dictator. It frankly is not acceptable, and if MPs don't stop it, then it is no exaggeration, it is not hyperbole to say this is the day any semblance of UK parliamentary democracy absolutely dies.
What kind of a position has the Queen been put in today at Balmoral?
Well, I think it is you know, a very difficult position for the Queen to be in, but you know, I do think it is rather bizarre for those of us appalled by an abuse of democracy to be expecting the Queen to sort of step in and stop this. It's Parliament's job to stop this. You know, we're told the House of Commons, some of us have been quite cynical about this for a long time, is the mother of parliaments, that the sovereignty of the House of Commons is all. Well, there has never been a more important moment, probably in my entire lifetime, for the House of Commons to prove that. It's got a very narrow window of opportunity next week, and if it doesn't take it, then I think the implications for the UK, not just UK democracy, but probably for the UK per se, are profound.
Some SNP members are saying today that today you must set the date for another independence referendum. Where does the move today leave the debate about Scottish independence?
Well, the move today simply makes it all the more important that Scotland has that ability to become an independent country where democracy is actually at the heart of everything we do as a country. You know, people previously who have suggested to me that, you know, a Westminster government conceivably could shut down the Scottish Parliament, I've always said, well, you know, just because in theory they could do that, let's not be silly. They're not likely to do that in practice. This is a government, a UK government, that is showing today it has no respect for constitutional norms. It's no longer ridiculous to say that a Prime Minister that's prepared to shut down the House of Commons wouldn't be prepared to do that to the Scottish Parliament. The Scottish Parliament goes back into session next week, and as it does so, the bill to put in place the rules for an independence referendum will resume its parliamentary progress. And the people of Scotland should have a right to choose independence, because it is clearer than ever now our future should lie as an independent nation.
Just finally, that's a bill about rules. Should you not be taking firmer action? I think your supporters might want to see firmer action given today's developments.
I want there to be an independence referendum. I am determined there will be an independence referendum. We have to get the legislation on the statute book, but that is very clearly about giving the people of Scotland the choice of independence, which I am absolutely certain, and become more certain by the day, is a choice the people of Scotland will take.
First Minister, thank you very much.